Okay, so we're still part of the warm-up right now. I'm looking for some rules. Why are they positive? Why are they negative? This is what, now it's going to be the time that you talk. So what do you think? Abs, go ahead.
So there's a rule during every equation. Basically, a positive plus a positive equals a positive.
Okay, so stop there. You're telling me a positive plus a positive equals positive. I love that. Okay, what else?
Negative plus a negative equals a negative.
Okay, so I hear you saying positive plus positive is positive. Oh, perfect. Awesome.
Wow.
There we go. And a negative plus a negative is negative. So you're telling me the signs are the same here, and it stays the same. And the signs here are the same, and the sign stays the same. Okay? What about these? Brooke?
The sign with the number with the most absolute value determines which direction the answer will be on the number.
I love what you just said there. So you use some great mathematical words there. You use absolute value. So I'm going to use this one right here. You're telling me the absolute value of 8 was 8. You said the absolute value of -5 was 5. And then you're like the largest value. And so the biggest absolute value was 8. The original was positive, which told me that my answer had to be positive. Well, what about for number 4? So absolute value of 5, absolute value of -8. That gives me a positive 5, gives me a positive 8. Which is my larger absolute value, Ava? 8 or 5? 8. What was the sign that was with 8? Oh, and that's how we got this negative here. So we're going to be dealing with absolute values. On that separate sheet, you are going to want to have written addition rules. So on that completely separate sheet, you're going to want to have written addition rules. And we're going to do 2 different things. So I've got cleaner versions because somebody else wrote them because we know that my writing is garbage, but I'm going to try to write neat. So we are going to have rules for same signs. And it was Abs that told me when they have the same sign, +5, +8, my answer stays the same sign as well. So if they're both positive, it stays positive. If they're both negative, it stays negative. Well, our first step. Ava, you're going to help me out here, okay? So my first step is always going to be what? What's my first step going to be?
Find the absolute value of all numbers.
Find the absolute value, and then it's going to get a little smaller, of all numbers. Okay? So we're going to always find the absolute value. The absolute value is important for this. Ava, great job knowing that. So I found the absolute value, 5, 8. What did I do to get 13? Then we are going to add the absolute values. I don't think you guys understand that this takes me a lot. Oh, there's the markers. It takes me a lot of effort to write this neat. Like, I have to really think about how my hand's moving. I'm not very good at writing neat. But with same signs, we are adding the absolute values. What's step 3 going to be? So let's look at this one. The absolute value of -5 was 5. The absolute value of -8 is 8. So let's do it. Now I have 5. I have 8, so I add them. That gives me 13, but that's not my answer. What do I have to do? Abs?
Since the two negative numbers that you're supposed to be adding, since you add your absolute values and then negative, your answer has to be negative.
Good. So I'm going to clean up what you said a little bit, if that's all right. So we're going to put the original sign back with it. So if it started off with negatives, guess what we're going to put with it? Negatives. If they started off both positives, what sign are we going to put with it? Positive. So put the original sign, and I'm going to put underneath it either positive or negative with your, and instead of saying answer, what can I say for an answer of an addition problem? Caleb. Sum. Very good, honey. And then I will put an example here. Oh my gosh. You know why? My music's not playing. That's why. No, I know that's why. So, here's our example. Negative 12 plus negative 37. What is the first step when I look at these in order to add them? What's the first step? Hey, find the absolute value. They're the same signs. They're both negative. It's a negative 12, it's a negative 37. So step 1 says absolute value of negative 12 equals 12. Absolute value of negative 37 equals 37. Have I lost anybody there? Okay. Step 2 says add the absolute values. Well, that's 12 plus 37. 2 plus 7 is 9. 1 plus 3 is 4. Step 3 says put the original sign with your sum. So my original sign, they were both negative. So my sum is negative 49. Questions on that one? So you should have these nice, well-written notes in there for you. So those are same signs. What else do you think we have to do? Not same signs, which we're going to call different signs. Okay, Mr. H, write neatly. I don't like this marker already. I don't know if that's spelled right. Remember 12th percentile?
It's spelled right.
I think so. Different signs. Sophie, don't give me those judging eyes, Sophie. 12%. Sophie's like, I'm not in the 12th percentile of spelling. Well, Sophie, not all of us can be as amazing as you, honey.
That's so.
I know. I know. Again, my wife still asks. She's like, does she have any new NASA stuff? I'm like, no, she hasn't had anything new for a while. She asks every day, Sophie. Yes?
I mean, my mom said I need to quit getting NASA shirts because I now am like 15. So.
Okay. So you don't have 16?
Yeah, 15. You're close.
So different signs. So now we're back over here. Let me clear this all off. Which number, 1, 2, 3, and 4, have different signs? Which numbers have different signs? Garrison. 3 and 4. And listen, I want you to get used to saying this correctly. It is negative 5, yes, just like that.
Yeah.
Negative 5
Best
plus
number 29.
positive 8. 5 plus negative 8. They are different signs. What do you think we need to do in order to start the problem?
Do the same thing as same signs.
So which is?
Find the absolute value.
Absolutely. So the first step stays the same. Find the absolute values of all numbers. Oh man, I can tell that it's starting to get a little bit messy. I'm like, man, there's a lot of writing. There it goes. Oof. Hate writing. I'm not good at it.
Alright,
This is why I've got my nice technology and my keyboard over here. They're hooking me up. Now, if only I had a nice camera that wasn't my phone. So, we're going to find the absolute value. So I've got -5. The absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of 8 is 8. But you told me earlier that the answer was +3. What do I have to do in order to get +3? Hey, Aaron?
You look at the one that has, that is bigger than the other values.
Not quite, Leanne. Okay, word it differently. Go ahead. So the greater value is what? 8. Okay, so I put 8 on top. I put 5 on bottom. What do I need to do though? Mason.
You just subtract.
Oh. When they're different signs, I need to subtract. So now we are going to subtract the absolute values. Ava, I'm holding you in charge of making sure I don't screw anything up. Am I doing all right so far? Okay. So now that I've got this 3, what tells me what the sign will be? How do I know whether it's going to be positive or negative? Josie. No, come on, take a guess. So we're doing 3. What will tell me what will be the sign? Okay, close. Lainey?
Because 8 is greater than the 5, so it's basically just like 8 minus 5.
Okay, so the larger absolute value. You're saying 8's bigger, I heard that, than 5, but we're talking about the absolute value. So the larger absolute value, whatever its original sign was, that will be the sign of our answer. So now I'm going to come over here and I'll look actually what it says. So we're going to put the sign.
The original sign.
So we're going to put the sign of the larger absolute value. Am I right so far? Yeah. Nice. I'm trying to match these notes up with. Oh no, put the numbers. It's all right. I'm making up. Put the sign of the larger absolute value with the sum. And when I say the sign of the larger absolute value, what was the original sign? It should really be put the sign of the larger absolute value, sign of the original numbers, larger absolute value. Yes, ma'am?
Oh,
Say it again?
never mind.
Okay. So, example. -68 plus 31. We are going to follow these steps. Step 1, find the absolute value of all numbers. Nice and easy. So, the absolute value of -68. Somebody refresh me because I'm old and I don't remember things very well. Hey, what's the absolute value?
Absolute value would be
What's the definition of the absolute value? I don't want what it is.
the definition of the absolute value is basically the opposite. So the opposite of -68 will be
Not quite the opposite. It's telling me about something else. I understand what you're saying with the opposite. We're going to come back to you. Javen?
How many spaces it is from 0?
How many spaces away? Can we use a little bit better of a mathematical word?
Distance.
Twin?
How far the number is from 0?
Yeah, how far? We're going to keep using mathematical words. Go ahead, Jacob.
The distance away from 0.
The distance away from 0. So, Javen, what is the absolute value?
The distance from 0.
The distance from 0. Hey.
The distance from 0.
The distance from 0. Distance will never be negative. So now I have a positive 68. Absolute value of 31. is 31. That's a positive. I don't know why I put negative there. Everybody with me so far? So now step 2 says subtract. I take 68 minus 31. 8 minus 1 is 7. 6 minus 3 is 3. Step 3, put the sign of the larger absolute value. Well, 68 was the larger absolute value. What was the sign of 68? Negative. So that gives me negative. Oh man, I'm going to make that a 7. Negative 37. It's a very fancy 7. You're welcome. Questions? Listen, so little backstory from last year. I said, hey, get out your rules for adding and subtracting. Hey, get out your rules for adding and subtracting. Hey, get out your rules for adding and subtracting. And usually these kiddos had the rules. They had the rules. They had the rules. Some of them didn't. And I said, hey, you should probably copy down those again. And I will have the anchor charts in the back of the room. And then I said, hey, get out the rules for adding and subtracting. And then on quiz day, I said, hey, get out the rules for adding and subtracting. And if they didn't have it, I'm like, wow, that stinks. This is important. You're going to want these rules. So if you want to make them fancy on a separate sheet and color it, highlight it, I don't care. But you're going to want these rules. Questions? It smells like there is a hair straightener or a iron or something. It's Mr.
It's the new furnace that they put in.
They put in a new furnace?
Yeah, it's all the dust goes off.
Why? I don't want a furnace. I want an air conditioner. So, we're going to highlight some things. So I want you to go to page S19. You'll find the page numbers at the bottom right. Go to page S19. In the middle of page S19, it says rule. So somebody from your group, I'm sure, has a highlighter. Highlight the rule in the middle of page S19. Hey, all I'm asking you to do is highlight. If you need to borrow a highlighter, raise your hand if your group doesn't have one, and I'll get you one. Huh? You didn't get one? So the rule is the same, but worded differently. Nobody in your group has highlighter? You're going to borrow. Then flip the page after you highlight that rule. Go to page S22, or S21, I'm sorry, S21, and highlight the rule at the very bottom of the page. Nope, it's right there. In the middle and then at the very bottom. Those two rules are the same as what we set up here, but written differently. Okay? They are written differently. So if this doesn't make sense to you, okay, I think my rules are pretty easily making sense. But if not, that's all right. Maybe the rules in the packet will help. So you still have more of a warm-up though. So going back to your warm-up page with your rules, I do not want you to use number lines. I want you to stop. I want you to show work with absolute values. So again, we have 4 addition problems. 61 plus 70. Negative 61 plus negative 70. 61 plus negative 70. Negative 61 plus 70. You have a minute and a half. Go. On your warm-up page. Yep, still part of the warm-up. So show me the work with absolute values. Show me how you're doing this, that you know how to use the steps. One minute. About 15 more seconds. Okay, Garrison. Using the steps, speak mathematically to me. Can you walk me through number 5?
You could find the absolute value of 61 and 70.
Okay, so the absolute value of 61 and 70, which gives me?
61.
Okay.
70.
Oh, so both positive numbers still give me positives. Okay, then what?
And since you are adding ones with the same sign, you would.
Okay, so I love what you said there, so I'm going to repeat that. You said because we're adding same signed numbers, we just add. So 1 plus 0,
1.
6 plus 7. Okay, what's going to be my answer? 131 because both numbers were positive, therefore my answer stays positive. Very good. Okay, number 6. So you got a hard act to follow. Garrison did that very, very well. Hey, Aaron, go.
So you find the absolute value of -61,
Which is?
which is 60.
1, good.
And -70 is absolute value of 70.
Okay. Then what?
So then we would add them.
Why am I adding them, hey, Aaron? Because they're the what?
Because they are the same value.
They have the same sign. Good. These are both negatives, those are both positives. When they have the same sign, we add. Well, it's the same problem, so I get 131. So is my answer 131?
No,
Why not, Aaron?
because they are both negative.
So we keep the sign from both of them, which is negative, and then I get negative 131. Okay, getting a little bit trickier. Number 7. Go ahead, Brooke.
So first you would find the absolute value,
Okay.
61 and -70,
Good.
and then you get 61 and 70.
Okay.
And then since they're different signs, then you would subtract 70 from 61 from 70,
Good.
and you would get 9.
Okay.
And you would take the sign from the larger absolute value, which is negative, and you would make it -9.
Brooke, that was fantastic. Okay, last but not least. Last but not least, come on. Need some hands. Go ahead, Abs.
Find the absolute value for -61,
Okay.
and now we equal 61. Then you find the absolute value of 70, and now we equal 70.
Good.
And you subtract both of them. And when you subtract both of them, now we equal 9.
Okay. Well, when I subtracted them, it gave me 9 over here. So far, you're done with 2 steps. What's the 3rd step?
The third step, put the sign of the larger absolute value.
Oh.
So,
So which one's the bigger absolute value, 70 or 61? What was the sign with 70?
positive.
Oh, so my answer is then
Positive.
positive. Questions? Okay, adding and subtracting, pretty easy. So let's go to the packet. Go to page